2023 season of ADAC GT Masters. Brilliant driving. It's phenomenal stuff.
Round 4 of the season, race 2 of the weekend. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a glorious, hot and sunny Sachsenring for the second race of the weekend for the ADAC GT Masters. Temperature is 28.3 degrees centigrade. The track is catching up rapidly. We've just witnessed a dramatic and thrilling DTM race. And now the GT3 cars back on track again, this time for the ADAC GT Masters. Yesterday, we saw Elias Seppänen and Samuel Vega jump to the top of the point standings as a result of a dominant win in their car, the Landgraf Motorsport Mercedes AMG. It was Finn Gersitz and Sven Muller who came into this weekend as championship leaders, but not a great day yesterday. They did bring it home in 5th place, but it wasn't the kind of day they wanted, and they surrendered that lead in the points championship. That lead has extended further because Elias Seppänen this morning in qualifying puts the Landgraf Motorsport Mercedes 3rd on the grid and therefore picked up a bonus point. But the car that starts on pole position, the living legend that is Maxi Götz in the Haupt Racing Team HRT Mercedes, he was brilliant yesterday, along with co-driver Petru Umberescu. Started at the back of the grid, came through, elbows out all the way, finished on the podium, and 3rd place for the number 3 car. It was a really impressive drive. You'd expect nothing less from Maxi Götz, the 2021 DTM champion and the 2012 GT Master champion, a multiple race winner. And he starts this race on pole position as a result of a great qualifying session this morning. 2nd on the grid is Ralph Aron. So it's another Mercedes. It's a Mercedes 1, 2, 3 on the grid. Maxi Götz, Ralph Aron and Elias Seppänen. There's confirmation of the point standings. Elias Seppänen and Samuel Vega with 123 points. Finn Gersitz and Sven Muller 14 points adrift. Janis Fischer and Nico Menzel didn't have the best of days yesterday, in fact triggering a safety car when Nico Menzel became stranded in the gravel trap, and it was a low-scoring day for them. Marco Mappelli, another one that was enjoying some grief when he had a separation. That was the tyre from the wheel of that Mercedes in the latter part of the race. It's not the biggest field we've ever seen in ADAC GT Masters, but this grid is going to be growing over the next couple of events, and certainly next year we're really excited about what promises to be a great season in the ADAC GT Masters. But we've got plenty of cars here for a good race at the Sachsenring this afternoon. It was gripping stuff, particularly the last 10 laps yesterday. Alongside me, the voice of DTM, Chris Hartley. It was good stuff yesterday, particularly at the end of the race, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had that late safety car. We wondered if we were going to get the race finished behind the safety car. No chance. We got 2 laps of race action. That turned out to be very bad news for Sven Muller. We were thinking he might be going for the lead of the race because the advantage that Seppänen and Vega had built up was completely evaporated, wasn't it? They've got themselves a 16, nearly 17-second lead. There were a couple of cars in between them, but Muller, rather going on the attack, went backwards down the order, and that's why they've suddenly, having tied for the championship lead at the start of the race yesterday, slipped 14 points back because he dropped for 5th place. It was triggered by a really gutsy move from Ben Green in the Schubert BMW. He got up the inside on the restart, got into 2nd place, and then Sven Muller went backwards as Maxi Götz and also Ralph Aron got past him, so dropping down to 5th place. And this morning in qualifying, Götz and Aron separated by just 20,000ths of a second, so it should be another good race.
Yes, the BOP working very well here, bringing all these cars together. Yeah, it was a great drive yesterday. Ben Green and Eduardo Cosseteng through into 2nd place. As a result of that, they will have a 10-kilo success ballast. It will be Elias Seppänen and Samuel Vega who are carrying an extra 20 kilos as a result of their win, and 5 kilos extra will go in the car that Maxi Götz and Petru Umberescu are running. They didn't have the ballast on board during qualifying this morning. I don't know how much difference that 5 kilos is going to make. make, but every bit counts here in GT3 racing. So the safety car gets moving, and the field of cars will start on their formation lap. We are at the Sachsenring. We're just a little bit outside Chemnitz in Saxony on a circuit that is nicknamed the Mini Nordschleife. Some have called it the Mini Spa-Francorchamps as well. It's been running here since 1927. A unique circuit that is 3.645 kilometers around. That equates to about 2.2 miles with 13 turns, 4 of them to the right and 9 to the left. One of the real characteristics of this track is the massive undulation. Lots of sweeping corners, but lots of hills and blind crests. And the car's running in an anti-clockwise direction, which is fairly unusual in this day and age. So we're on the formation lap. Let's take a look at that starting grid for this race 8 of the season. It's Maxi Goetz on pole position for HRT with Ralph Aron alongside him. Elias Seppänen making it a 1-2-3 for Mercedes with Marco Mappelli for company. Then Sven Muller looking to make up for yesterday, tough day. And Ben Green, watch him, he'll be fighting from there. Nico Menzel, another had a difficult day yesterday, and Jonas Gelginis in the lone Audi bringing up the rear of the grid. So onto this formation lap. It is a 60-minute race plus 1 lap. Important time to get the heat into the tyres and into the brakes.
Yeah, heat is going to be an issue for the drivers in this race as well. It's 28 degrees like it was yesterday, track temperature 26, and at the back of the circuit through sectors 2 and 3, got these hugely high-speed corners. It's quite a rough, abrasive circuit as well. So with this heat and with that combination of corners, the Pirelli tyres are going to be under strain as well for this 1 hour-long race.
So it is the endurance, surviving to the end. This is a track that is really tough on tyres, and tyre changes are not allowed in GT Masters. So whatever tyres you start the race on, you need to finish the race on. Whatever state they're in, when you get to the mandatory stop and driver change, your co-driver inherits whatever mess they are in. Out of turn 13, the cars come side by side. We are getting ready. Race 8 for the ADAC GT Masters along the pit straight. And we are go. The car's tearing towards turn 1. A good start for Maxi Goetz. But Ralph Aron having a little look on the outside. It's a long way around there. Can he keep it out the gravel trap? He goes wide. There's a bit of contact from Marco Mappelli. So Ralph Aron, he who dares wins. Well, not in this case because he got out on the outside line. A bit of contact. He drops down the order up into second place already. Yesterday's winner, Elias Seppänen. Now following Maxi Goetz, Marco Mappelli in third. Good start from Sven Muller in fourth place. Ralph Aron slots back in behind them, and Ben Green and Nico Menzel running side by side into the downhill section of the track. This is the view on board with Sven Muller, but everybody surviving that opening lap. Maxi Goetz already opening up a gap, but there's all to play for behind. At the back, Jonas Gelginis also looking at the cars in front. Keep an eye on Ben Green in the BMW. He said he's going to move forwards. That's exactly what he's likely to be doing, but Maxi Goetz, he's already opened up quite a gap down the part of the track they come. That is nicknamed the waterfall. There you go. That's why it's called the waterfall. A steep drop into turn 12. Ben Green has a little look to the inside, then to the outside of Nico Menzel. Around 12 up the hill, a steep hill, a blind corner, turn 13, back out onto the pit straight, and that is the first lap completed.
Great first lap for the leader, Maxi Goetz. Then big battle with Ralph Aron into that first corner there. You're on board with Ben Green now. The BMW run by Schubert Motorsport looks right. The line is covered, goes left, tries to find a way past the Porsche, but Nico Menzel, good on the brakes, holds on to that place for the time being. So Ben Green remains in 7th position. Yeah, Maxi Goetz yesterday got into the second stint in 7th place. Started to set fastest lap after fastest lap. He was a good half a second quicker than the leaders. Remember, he was coming in on the used tyre as well. They don't change tyres in the pit stop, so he handled that really well. He's got fresher tyres as he takes the first stint this time in today's race, and he's made the most of it with a 1.8 second lead at the end of the first lap.
So let's have another look at the start. Everybody passing through the grid boxes. Though Marco Mappelli was a little bit eager out of the blocks, but we've had no indication that there's any penalty there. And then they all pile into turn 1. So many times in so many races we see cars into the gravel. That wide outside, Ralph Aron tried to make it stick. You have to say credit to him for trying it, but he got out wide, and then contact from Marco Mappelli. Ben Green was alongside him as well. He's managed to recover a bit. Now, where that contact was, I don't think it was on a wheel or anything, but it was just enough to knock him out of line. So I don't think there's been any long-term damage to the car, but he's dropped a long way back. What a great view on board. Elias Seppänen getting the hurry up into the first couple of corners. This is a view going across the start-finish line again. You can see Marco Mappelli looks to the inside, then back to the outside, and then into the middle, the meat in the sandwich. Elias Seppänen on the inside. So Ben Green is the car that we've been keeping an eye on because he's fighting to get past Nico Menzel. This is the view on board from Elias Seppänen, and he sees the gap on the inside, but decides just to be a little bit cautious and keep out of trouble. And a little poke there from Sven Muller. Come on, hurry up, he says, I want to come through. So correcting the car as well. Great view of Elias Seppänen. You can see how hard he's having to fight the wheel. Yeah,
Aaron did pretty well at that start, not to lose more places, didn't he? Because he looked second best when Ben Green got alongside him, but he did manage to recover. Absolute best lap then going to Maxi Götz by 4/10. He pulls further away from Seppänen in second place. But there for third and fourth, the gap is less than half a second between Pelli and the Lamborghini, and Sven Muller, the former Porsche Carrera Cup Germany and Super Cup champion there in fourth place, the number 91 Porsche. Bit of a gap back then to the recovering Ralph Aron on board with Sven Muller making his way through turn 13, which spirals and climbs uphill. You've got to get a good exit because you won't touch the brakes again until you get to the second gear, turn 1.
Sven Muller behind Marco Mappelli, looking at that third place as they head into turn 1. Too far back to do anything about it at the moment, but you just see how eager he is. Remember that Elias Seppänen carrying that extra 20 kilos, so it's going to be hard to attack, it's going to be hard to defend in that Mercedes, so it could feel like a bit of a long afternoon, but he's doing well in second place. And if you can, as Mirko Bortolotti would say, park the bus, then there really is no chance of anybody else getting past, particularly in this windy part of the circuit. If you're new to ADAC GT Masters, just to remind you, this is a 60-minute race plus 1 lap, and there is a pit window that will open 25 minutes into the race. It will remain open for 10 minutes, therefore it will close 35 minutes into the race. During that pit window, every car must visit the pit lane for a mandatory stop and driver change. And just to make life interesting, there is a minimum pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit, no less than 65 seconds. If anybody goes below that, they will be visiting the penalty box. So we're looking back at Marco Mappelli from the perspective of Elias Seppänen. He said to me the other day, he said, keep an eye on us. They've got cameras pointing at every angle at us this weekend. So we should get some great perspectives of Elias Seppänen and also his co-driver, Salman Vega.
It went pretty well yesterday. A really good first stint from Vega, wasn't it, to build up a 15-second lead, which then only was increased by Seppänen when he got into the car up until the point where the safety car came out. Now, one thing that will be buoyed by is the fact that there's the same success ballast rules in GT Masters as there is in the DTM, and Lucas Stoltz was the winner of yesterday's DTM race in a Mercedes and therefore had 20 kilograms of success ballast on the car today, and he still finished in second place. So even with the success ballast on a circuit where it can really hurt you. Now, you've got to remember that this is the most undulating circuit on the entire course, so that ballast really does make a difference around a track where you've got to lug all that way up these hills. But if Lucas Stoltz can get second place with that ballast on board, then so too can Seppänen, and that's where he is at the moment. Second place, looking good.
Elias Seppänen, we saw him make his debut in ADAC GT Masters last year, along with, he was co-driving with Frankie Bird. They were looking very good. He had Raffaele Marciello as his mentor last year, and I think Raffaele might have taught him a few tricks because he's really stepped up to the mark this year, is loving his time in the ADAC GT Masters. The track is a tough track, not just because of the undulation, not just because of the heat that we're experiencing this weekend, but it's a very abrasive surface as Ralph Aron goes very wide out of turn 14. I was about to say, looking after the tyres is critical here. In the GT4 4 race yesterday, in the closing laps, we saw numerous cars retiring with punctures because this track does monster the tyres. And I have to say, going through the gravel trap won't do them a lot of favours either. So Ralph Aron, he'll be working hard just to scrub those tyres clean over the next couple of corners, but that would have added to the wear rate on them. Look at the lead that Maxi Goetz has. It was 3.6 seconds last time across the line. To remind you though, there will be the pit stop and driver change. Some of the drivers that are coming in are less experienced, and without being rude to him, I'd say that Petru Umbra Rescue hasn't got quite the experience and the pace of Maxi Goetz. So Maxi trying to build up as big a gap as possible before he hands the number 3 car over to his co-driver.
Yeah, what he absolutely doesn't want is for there to be a safety car to undo all of that good work. So he'll probably, like a lot of these drivers, stay in the car as long as he can, pushing it to the envelope. The window of the 10-minute pit stops that you have between 25 and 35 minutes into the race will probably go to the 33rd, 34th minute if he can before coming in. You saw there Sven Muller, there he is, the number 91 Porsche, having a look at the inside on the way into the penultimate corner, but the Team Juice race motion driver thought better of it, but he's starting to apply the pressure. It feels like he's a bit quicker at the moment than Mapelli, but he can't find a way past. He's got a bit of a gap back to Ralph Aron, Nico Menzel and Ben Green, so he's free to try a few different racing lines here.
Marco Mapelli has always shone here at the Sachsenring. It's a circuit that he loves, but yes, Sven Muller really putting the pressure on. Mapelli for GRT Grasser Racing, they are doing double duty here. They're in the DTM here this weekend, so a lot of data being shared between the DTM team and the GT Masters team. Clemens Schmid running for them in the DTM, so that's some useful information. Ben Green there for Schubert Motorsport. Well, he has Rene Rast and Sheldon van der Linde as teammates there in the DTM, and they're also sharing the wisdom. Ben Green pretty rapid though, and Eduardo Kozateng, he was one of the really impressive drivers yesterday. He'll be taking over from Ben, but he'll be frustrated in 7th place because I think he certainly had visions of moving forward from there, and I think maybe that success ballast that he's carrying might be having an effect. Once again into turn 12, Sven Muller having a little look. It seems to be in that part of the circuit where he's able to close in on Marco Mapelli. Now is he lining him up towards turn 13? Is he going to try and get to the inside and then make a charge along the pit straight? Well, he's behind him now as they head past the garages in towards turn 1. He looks to the inside, then he ducks to the outside. Is he going to make a move? Back to the inside he goes. Mapelli is wise to it, shuts the door. Muller then moves back to the outside, then back behind, just trying to hassle Mapelli into missing a braking point, making a mistake, anything at all that would give him an opportunity to get past.
Exactly right. He's doing all the right things here, Muller. He can't find a way past, but he keeps showing his nose, and that will catch the attention of Mapelli. He looks in the mirrors and he thinks, I've got to brake late, because if I don't, if I leave a gap, if I brake a fraction too early, then Muller's going to be down the inside of me, and that puts the pressure on him. That makes him push the car, push the tyres as hard as he can, and maybe, as you say, into just overcooking it into one of the corners. But there's no doubt about it, Muller is the quicker of the two as it stands. Just looking behind as well, Ralph Aron was 2/10 quicker than Muller on that lap, and Muller can see that Mercedes getting bigger and bigger in the mirrors, which is urging him on.
It's looking good, isn't it, as Aron closes in as well. Of course, all of this is letting Elias Seppänen off the hook a little bit, because the pressure from behind is not there at the moment, because Mapelli is having to be a defender rather than attacker. So Seppänen, despite the success ballast, is able to stretch his legs a bit. Up towards the final corner they come once again over that blind crest. Everybody keeping it tidy this time, are they? Yes, they are. There goes Ben Green in the 7th place. Jonas Gelginis in 8th place as well. Looking at the Sven Muller, the camera there on the side of the Porsche, giving us some great perspective. Still, he's behind Marco Mapelli. Now, Ralph Aron, after that troublesome first lap where he tried but he couldn't make it stick, suddenly he's got his sights on that 4th place, and Sven Muller is going to have to start defending.
Yeah, and with Aron comes Menzel, comes Green, so they're all going to join the party now. It's going to be a big old queue here. That's only going to help out the top two, of course. They'll get further and further away. Maxi Goetz has now got a 5-second lead. His last lap was a 1:20.3, which was 3/10 quicker than Seppänen, but it was a second quicker than the drivers involved in this battle for 3rd place. So he's just having it all go his own way at the moment. As you say, he wants to build up as big a cushion as he can before he hands the car over. There is that cushion as he comes down into turn 12. There's Seppänen in 2nd place, and here this battle between Mapelli, Muller, and now Aron for 3rd.
Down the waterfall they come once again. This is where Muller always seems to look the most dangerous, but how hard can he push now? He has the number 2 car behind him. Aaron just ready to bounce if these 2 cars get together. Up the hill, the steep climb. Tried to run that one on Friday. That really hurt. Out of the final corner onto the pit straight. Then it's foot absolutely flat to the floor all the way to turn 1. Nobody making a move at the moment, but surely the attack might be coming soon. Into turn 1 we come again. Marco Mappelli holding on to the last of the podium positions, the 3rd place. There was Elias Seppänen just coming through to the right of your picture. This is the view on board from Sven Muller. He just sees his opponent in front, just picking up a bit of dust as he goes around the corner. This is the Castrol Omega turn. Then this is a double blind crest up the hill, over the top and down the other side.
Ben Green getting a bit closer to Nico Menzel as well in the battle for 6th place, inching up to him, so that's still to keep an eye on. But remember, Ben's got 10 kilograms of success ballast on the BMW as a result of getting 2nd place yesterday, so that's going to be tough for him. So Maxi Götz, a great rumble every time the Mercedes goes past, 550 plus brake horsepower. There he goes down into turn 12 with more ballast than anybody. Seppänen there in 2nd place. They let the cars drift out wide, don't they, coming out of that flat out right-hander through turn 11, run right over the curbs and keep their foot in. It is commitment because they go over the brow, but imagine going over the brow sat on the floor. They can't see anything. They're just dropping off a cliff there, aren't they?
It's absolutely terrifying. It's terrifying to watch. I hate what it's like in the seat of one of these things. They really do push hard. It's a mixture of drivers here. We've got some who would be classed as veterans of the sport, the likes of Maxi Götz and Sven Muller, and to a degree Marco Mappelli. We have the young chargers as well, Elias Seppänen in 2nd place. A big crowd of 42,000 people are here this weekend at the Sachsenring, enjoying the sunshine, sat out there with the ice cream. I can't think of anything better out in the Saxony countryside, watching GT3 cars circulating around this legendary circuit.
He's fed the other purpose for the umbrella there, hasn't he? Not to keep the rain off, to keep the sun off, because it is an unseasonably hot weekend here. Bearing in mind it's mid-September, we've got temperatures pushing up towards 30 degrees, and the drivers, off the back of a couple of hot weekends prior to this, would have been thinking, oh, it might be starting to get a bit cooler now, a bit easier in the car. None of it. They're going to have to work very hard for this remaining part of the first stint. So 15 minutes just under gone in the race, and nearly a 6-second advantage for Maxi Götz. Seppänen in 2nd place is nearly 3 seconds clear of the green Lamborghini there of Mappelli, Muller, and then Aaron who took some time away from racing, involved in team management, used to race with the Prema team, the all successful single-seater team of René Rossin's team. And if you can't be bothered to walk, get the parents to push you along. Is
I want one of them.
Yeah, I want one of them as well. Next time we do a track run, please, Brian.
Yeah, you can push me around if you want.
No, I was thinking the other way around.
I'm not that strong. Marco Mappelli in 3rd place.
I'm going.
Yeah, bye. The fight for 3rd place. Look at this queue of cars. This is the fight for the last of the podium positions. It's Mappelli, Muller, Aaron, Menzel and Green all lining up. You get the feeling it's not going to stay like this for long. We're still 9 3/4 minutes away from the pit window opening, and all queuing up for that 3rd place. And Marco Mappelli feeling the pressure from behind of Sven Muller. You can see every driver pushing hard, using the curb, trying to look after those tyres, trying to make sure that their co-driver, when they take over, will have some rubber and some grip that will take them to the end of the race. But still nothing changing at the moment. We're looking out the side of Ben Green's car. You can almost feel the wind in your hair, can't you?
So if you're in this position now, you are, you know, a driver that's quick and perhaps quicker than your teammates, so you want to stay in the car as long as possible, but you can't find a way past the car ahead. So then do you start to think, as a driver, as a team, maybe we should switch it up in the pit stop, do something a bit different, come in earlier, maybe try something there to try and just leapfrog a place, do the undercut?
Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen it before when the car is in traffic. Maybe, yeah, you got your fingers crossed, or you're just nervous. A lovely nails. So yes, do you bring the car in to get them out on track into potentially open air? But in so doing, do you put in potentially the slower of the 2 drivers? It's a team sport. This, they'll have strategists in the garage who will be working this one out, because running in traffic is not going to do you any favours. Doesn't always do the tyres any favours. Nico Menzel getting a bit of a slider on there into the Castrol Omega turn, which is turn 3, but Ben Green just too far back at the moment to do anything about it. But you do wonder whether the likes of Schubert, when the pit window opens in 8 minutes' time, whether they might want to get Ben Green in early and get Eduardo Cosseteng in the seat. The only thing is that Ben Green has a lot more experience. He's a 2-times winner in GT Masters, so they want to maximise the amount of time that he can be putting in those fast laps.
Yeah, it was a good effort from Eduardo Cosseteng yesterday, though, wasn't it? He drove an excellent first stint, gave his teammate a chance, got him in the fight. Remember, Eduardo with a single-seater background and karting prior to that, his first season of GT racing, so it was good to see the Filipino driver on the podium yesterday, off the back of a couple of seasons in British Formula 4, in which he was a race winner last year, one of the front runners in the championship. Other drivers with single-seater backgrounds a long time ago include Sven Muller and Ralph Aron, who was a front runner with the Prema team, Rennie Rossen's team in Formula 3, International European Formula 3, racing in 2017, the season that Lando Norris won the championship, and 2018, the year that Mick Schumacher was the Formula 3 champion, and his younger brother Paul, now a very rapid single-seater racer, finishing 3rd in his first season of the FIA Formula 3 championship, and good enough to be picked up as a junior driver by the Mercedes F1 team.
Yeah, we've been watching Paul with great interest, haven't we? And for every time I call Ralph Paul, I've said I'd donate some money to charity. I'm going to be bankrupt at this rate. So great camera angles here we have, and you get a real perspective of driving one of these cars. You're looking at Ben Green from 2 different angles. There's one of him looking at him at the wheel, and then there's one looking at the side of the car. Really good perspective. At the front, Maxi Goetz is leading Elias Sepnen by just a fraction over 7 seconds, and he in turn is 3.5 seconds ahead of Marco Mappelli. The battle for 3rd place. Ben Green is in that battle, but there's a queue of cars in front of him. Nico Menzel, Paul Aron, Ralph Aron, oh, here we go, I'm broke. Sven Muller and Marco Mappelli. And they are in the queue. I said this to Ralph the other day. He said Paul is both better looking and more skilled. I thought that is a very humble brother. Mine wouldn't say that, that's for sure.
He definitely wouldn't say it to his brother, would he? Great shot that then, looking over the shoulder of the Schubert BMW. Mr. Sombrero is back.
He's back.
He saw him yesterday. It's too hot to have a beard like that. It really is. But the hat will help, that's for sure. So, crowd enjoyed the sunshine. Maxi Goetz enjoying driving the Sachsenring. He said, this is one of the best circuits in Germany. And I corrected him and said, no, it's one of the best circuits in Europe. The drivers all absolutely love driving around here. Eventually, the 2nd place car comes through. That is the gap that he's developed. And then 3rd to 4th, I should think Sven Muller is fed up of looking at the back of that Lamborghini.
Yes, I think he probably is. And is he going to try and do something before the pit window opens? Finn Gersitz, he's new to GT3 racing. It's a whole new discipline to him. He will be taking over the 2nd stint of that car. Will he have the experience? Well, he's got a fair bit of experience now because Sven Muller has been teaching him all season long. Elias Sepinen in 2nd place, such a long way back from Maxi Goetz. Well, now he knows what it feels like, because that's what he and Salman Vega were doing at the front yesterday, pulling away and creating a large gap. Of course, a safety car could change that all around. On board with Sven Muller, that's the view out the windscreen, and we saw him there soaring at the wheel out of turn 13. Once again, now onto the pit straight. Is he close enough to make a move? The dirty air behind will be overheating the Porsche. He'll maybe duck out, have a little look to the side into turn 1. Will he? No, he won't. So as you were at the moment, but you just feel as though the team use Sportwagen Technique Porsche is getting a bit impatient looking at the back of the GRT Grasser Lamborghini.
And hats off to Marco Mappelli, because he's been under pressure for, what, 10, 12 minutes now. That Porsche breathing down his neck. He knows he can't put a wheel wrong. He knows he can't run wide into the gravel, put a wheel over the curbs too much, brake too early or too late. So all that pressure, 100% focus required. He's got to try and put out of his mind the Porsche, whilst also remembering that it's there and that gaps should not be left available for it to dive down the inside of. He's got Sven Muller flashing his lights. He's coping with all of this and also driving a car at 260 kilometres an hour around one of the fastest circuits in Europe. And he hasn't put a wheel wrong yet. He's soaked it all up beautifully.
Concentration is an issue, especially in this heat. Who was it who said it was like boxing in a sauna? Well, he's looking to the inside now into turn 12, but still too far back. The flashing of the lights, all part of the mental games to try and distract the car in front. But I think Ralph Aron is looking lively behind as well. These three cars have kind of broken away a little bit from Nico Menzel. Out along the pit straight once again in towards turn 1. Still, Marco Mappelli holding on to that third place for all he's worth. In fact, looks like he's opened up a bit of a gap from last time around. Across the line they came. It was about half a second between them. And then into turns 2 and 3 once again. So Marco Mappelli in the Lamborghini. The fight for third place that has been ongoing for the whole of this race so far. But we are less than 3 minutes away from the pit window opening. This is when the dynamic of the race will change. In some cases, the less experienced drivers will get in, and suddenly the gloves are off, and it may all change. Maxi Goetz, I agree with you. I think he's going to stay out as late as possible. He's got an open track in front of him as we look at Petru Umbarescu. Well, he clearly thinks he's getting in the car soon, so maybe we all know what my strategy predictions are like. Maybe that he's going to come in early, but Petru Umbarescu will take over from Maxi Goetz. I would suggest, though, with an open track in front of him, Maxi Goetz just knocking in really quick laps. They'll want to extend his stint to as long as possible. Marco Mappelli still with Sven Muller behind him. This has been an ongoing battle. Great stuff here up the hill once again, out onto the pit straight. Muller has not got the legs to get past him, has he? It's the drag race towards turn 1. That's where he needs the pace, and that is where the Lamborghini seems to open up the gap. And also Aron in the background as well. Ben Green and Nico Menzel have dropped back a bit from this battle.
But two things. One, stay as close as you can, even if you can't get past, because if you have a slightly better in-lap, slightly better out-lap, you time your pit stop to perfection. Wouldn't take much for that Porsche to switch around with the Lamborghini during that pit window. Second thing, keep the man in front under pressure. Make them use up their tyres, and that could help your teammate out in the second half of the race in these very hot conditions around a circuit where it's very tough on tyres. So just keep pushing the Lamborghini, keep pushing Mappelli, and make him use that tyre up as much as he can, and that could then turn it around. It's another big beard to be carrying around on a day like this. That's been finely manicured, hasn't it?
Yes, welcome to Beard Fest 2023 here at the Sachsenring. There's Elias Sepeda running on his own at the moment. That's good because he'll have cool air coming into the car, hopefully to keep him cool. Marco Mappelli, well, the Lamborghini Huracan is not famous for keeping the driver cool. It's great aerodynamically, and it's a very well-performing car, but the drivers do suffer from the heat in that. He'll be pleased there's nobody in front of him at the moment. Sven Muller would love to chuck some heat in his face as they head back along the pit straight. Once again, another lap in the books. That's 18 laps done. We are 30 seconds away from the pit window opening. I get the feeling, I think Sven Muller and the Team Use crew might be thinking about pulling him in early, get Finn Gersitz in the driving seat and get him out on some open track and try and do the undercut on the Lamborghini.
Isn't that the beauty of GT racing, though? You got Mappelli in a Lamborghini, Muller in a Porsche, and Aron in a Mercedes. 3 different drivers, 3 different sets of backgrounds, 3 different types of cars, and for lap after lap, they've been lapping almost identical lap times. It is so close out there. And just one mistake and you are in strife. So concentration, as you say, has to be 100% of the time.
Latest update from Beardfest 2023 as Sven Muller flashes the lights and tries to distract it even more so. But Maxi Goetz, right, what's he going to do? Is he going to stay out? Because the pit window is open, and yeah, he does stay out, and I think that might be the case for at least the next 8 minutes or so. Stretching his legs in the Hout Racing Team Mercedes in the pits. Petru Umbarescu will be limpering up. We saw him limbering up, not limpering. We saw him suited and booted. Right, that is Aron into the pits. Ralph Aron peeling off. He will be handing over to Alain Valente, the driver from Switzerland, will be standing by in the other of the HRT cars. HRT, the only team with 2 cars in this series this year. And into the pit lane he comes, keeping to the speed limit, and then into the pits we come. The engine has to go off. only 2 mechanics are allowed to work on the car. There's the lollipop man as well, so it's really critical for the outgoing driver to help the incoming driver. Seat insert goes in because they're of a different build, so got to be nice and comfy. You've got to be strapped in, got to be able to see over the steering wheel. It's not a problem I suffer with. Then get him buckled in, get him plugged in. That's all done. And then it'll put the window net across as well. In a bit, you'll probably tap him on the head, wish him good luck, slam the door, and then the car will burst back into life, and then it'll be the countdown. You can see the clock counting down. What it'll want to do is hit the pit exit line when the clock strikes 0. I don't know how close to the exit he is, so 5 was clearly 5 seconds to go is when they think he should be going. So the clock strikes 0, and, well, a second over. So that's a second potentially lost in the race. But better to be over than under.
Yeah, but a second is, you know, the difference between a position and how close they were, isn't it? So hopefully from Aaron's point of view, Valente's going to have a good outlap here compared to others, because he could fall back a bit further otherwise, but that looked pretty good. They'd worked it all out pretty nicely, but yeah, just well, within a second he's good, isn't it? But it would have been like maybe a half a second or so better off than that to get a little bit closer. Here we go again then, Mapelli versus Muller for 3rd and 4th positions. Menzel and Green 5th and 6th. So got Sinis and the Audi is up to 7th temporarily, with the only driver in the pits, or having had the pit stop, Valente now down to 8th position. So Maxi Götz 11.053 seconds clear. It's not quite the huge lead that Salman built up yesterday at Vega with 15-second advantage, but it's a very good one, and he's not yet done, is he?
No, he isn't. Still stretching, still pushing, and Petru Rescue, you can see him. I actually think he's probably quite nervous, and you have a driver like Maxi Götz. He's qualified the car this morning. He's done all the hard work, and then it's your responsibility to get into the seat and put all that hard work to good use and bring it home in the points, potentially on the top step of the podium. It was Petru Rescue qualified the car yesterday, and it's the other driver who does it on the day 2, so that's why Maxi Götz is in the first stint as well. Everybody else still staying out at the moment, so the only stopper has been Alain Valente.
Yeah, indeed. So, of course, you got your idea of we'll try something different, but you never know what the other teams are going to do. They might all come in at the same time. We saw that to a point yesterday, didn't we? So they continue on. 12 seconds now, the advantage for Maximilian Götz over Zeppelin. Mapelli still only half a second clear of Muller, so you see half a second closer to that 65 seconds in the pits. That could be enough to get that Porsche ahead of the Lamborghini. It could all come down to that, and that's where they've got to get their calculations absolutely spot on and be practicing. They've worked it out from previous data and worked out how close to the pit lane exit they are, how many seconds it takes to get down there whilst sticking to the pit lane speed limit as well. It's all quite scientific, but it's amazing how close to that 0 seconds they can all get.
It's going to be the nightmare scenario for Team Use and Sven Muller if they come into the pits and Marco Mapelli does it at the same time as well, because they really want to try and get the undercut or the overcut, as the case may be, and it may be the team will say to him, whatever Mapelli does towards the end of this window, you do the opposite. But of course they can't miss the pit window. If they do miss the pit window, the kind of penalties they will receive will put them right to the back of the pack. We're reaching the halfway point of the race. 30 minutes gone, 30 minutes to go, plus 1 lap. This is race 8 of a 12-race season in the ADAC GT Masters, the second race of the weekend here at the Sachsenring. The sun is shining, the wet dishcloths are on the head. Beardfest is in full swing. We are loving GT Masters here around the undulating hills, the curves, and the wonderful sweeping circuit that is Sachsenring here in Saxony.
So gap expanded a little bit, but then the last 2 laps it's come down again. Muller just ramping things up now as he knows the end of his stint is nigh. Ben Green, I was noticing, coming out of turn 13, he's really struggling with the balance, that BMW. It looks like it's hard work to get it up through the corners at the moment, and he's got that success ballast on board, remember. So he did a 1:21.6 last time around, dropped 0.3 of a second to Nico Menzel, so he's at 1.8 seconds adrift now, Ben Green, of Nico Menzel's Porsche in the battle for 5th place. So it looks like it's been hard work for him, and if it's hard work work for him. It's going to be hard work for his teammate in the second half of the race as well.
Yeah, I think he would have hoped to have made better progress than that in this race. But it is what it is. And the drivers wait. That is Salman Vega, who will be taking over from Elias Seppänen, the second place car. The two drivers who work so well together. They're friends off the track, and they really understand how each other operates. Always seen together around the paddock. And that is the secret to a good driver combination. You have drivers that can communicate with each other, can work together. And it's very much a team sport in GT Masters. Elias Seppänen out there at the moment. I think he is probably going to be coming into the pits fairly shortly. Well, we've got less than 3.5 minutes, and all bar one, make that two, have come into the pits because Jonas Gelginis is in. He's handing over to Jonas Karklees, the driver that we saw last year in the ADAC TCR Germany. Maxi Gertz staying out. I reckon he might stay out for one more lap, and then they're going to have to think about it. Of course, if you leave it too close to the mark and you have a bad lap, and you could end up missing the pit window.
Nobody's got near his times, have they? I mean, I think every single lap of the race, he's been the quickest driver out there, and on that lap, more than half a second quicker than Seppänen in second place. So he just keeps chipping away. He's in a zone, he's in a rhythm. Beautiful driving from the 2021 DTM champion. He's gone past the commentary box window, so he's definitely staying out for another lap. But you sense probably the end of this next lap. That's when he'll be coming in. 2 minutes and 36 seconds until the pit window closes.
I think the cards have been laid on the table because Petru Ambarescu is now out of the garage, waiting in the pit lane for that car to come in. And this is where Maxi Gertz will try and make as much space as possible. Elias Seppänen into the pits, handing over to Salman Ovega. This is going to be critical as well. So yesterday's race winners and the leaders of the championship looking to win their first championship in the ADAC GT Masters. Elias has done his work for the weekend. Also, Ben Green is in. That's Eduardo Cositeng, who jumps into the driving seat of the Schubert Motorsport BMW. So as the window comes to a close, all the rest of the drivers are going to need to come in within the next minute and 50 seconds. We've still got Nico Menzel, Sven Muller, Marco Mappelli and Maxi Gertz out on track. But they're waiting now for the clock to tick down. You can see it again. Petru Ambarescu will want to hit the line when the clock strikes zero. Elias Seppänen has handed to Salman Vega. The clock is ticking down there as well. Let's see how they do. 4, 3, 2, 1. There's the line, crossing the line. And that's 1.7 seconds that's lost. Here comes our race leader, Maxi Gertz, into the pits. Petru Ambarescu on standby.
Yeah, loosening the belts a bit, getting ready to pull the radio out as well, getting everything as prepped as he can, Maxi Gertz, before he steps out of the car. Now hits the spot, opens the door, and gets out. Perfect preparation there for Maxi Gertz. Well, a great stint then from him, and Petru Ambarescu now is being strapped in.
Brilliant. So everybody now into the pits who hasn't pitted yet. So Marco Mappelli also in. Always trying to listen in. There's the net. There, tap on the leg. Good luck, mate, he says. Slam the door, bring it home on the top step of the podium. I think that's pretty well what he said to him. The clock ticks down. So Marco Mappelli in as well in the 63 car. He's handing over to Benjamin Heites. So the situation we thought might happen, Sven Muller handing over to Finn Gersitz has come in, and look at that, that is 2.1 seconds below the pit window minimum time. Petru Ambarescu, who's taken over from Maxi Gertz. The red P is always bad news. It means he's gone below the minimum pit stop time, and it's by a fair bit as well. I have a feeling there may be a penalty lap, at least one penalty lap incoming for the race leading car. Out comes Marco Mappelli's car now with Benjamin Heites at the wheel. Sven Muller's handed over to Finn Gersitz. Janis Fincher has taken over from Nico Menzel. But the headline is Petru Ambarescu will be under investigation. It's flashed up on our timing screen. So now it could be there is a penalty going to be incoming. The investigation is ongoing. I don't think it'll take very long. You can see that the Finn Gersitz's car is sliding very much so. He's made the jump of the GRT Grasser Lamborghini through the pit stop sequence, so they have managed to get the jump just on account of getting in than out of the pits quicker than the Lamborghini, but now it is Benjamin Heites in the green number 63 car at the wheel, and Finn Gersitz has got past. Now it is the car that Ralph Aron was driving with Alan Valenti at the wheel that is also pressuring.
Yeah, the Lamborghini actually got a little bit closer to the 65 seconds than the Porsche, 0.4 of a second over compared to 0.5 of a second over. But overall, the in and the out lap, the gap came down a bit, and that was Gersitz taking the opportunity on the way down into turn 3. Replay on board the Porsche. Nicely executed manoeuvre, that.
So it wasn't in the pits, it was on the exit from the pits on the outlap. And Finn Gersitz, well, if you got Sven Muller as your mentor and team leader, you're going to pick up a few tricks, and that was one there. Slide through, a little bit of contact between the two cars, but through into that position. Third place for Finn Gersitz, who's taken over from Sven Muller, looking very strong indeed. We're keeping one eye on our race control screens to see whether there's any more action on the minimum pit stop time infringement, potentially from Petru Umbrarescu, our race leader. At the moment, he leads the way from Elias Seppänen and Salman Ovega. The graphics will update shortly, so it is Salman Ovega at the wheel of car number 48, not Seppänen. But Salman Ovega is, at the moment, in that second place. The gap is 17.8 seconds. So even if Petru Umbrarescu were to get a visit to the penalty box, he could afford to actually visit the penalty box 3 times and still hold on to that lead, because a penalty box visit normally equates to about a 5-second addition to the lap. Out along the pit straight he comes. That big gap might be crucial come the end of this race. The penalty box, you'll see it in just a few moments on the exit of turn 1. The white box painted on the track is 200 meters long. If the driver does pick up a penalty lap, he'll have to pass through that box at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. And it's a drive-through penalty. Such was the length, or the amount that it went below the minimum time. It's a drive-through penalty for Petru Umbrarescu. So that will cost him the lead of the race. What a shame. After all that hard work from Maxi Goetz, Petru Umbrarescu is going to have to drive through the pit lane, keeping to the speed limit. This is going to hand the lead, gift wrapped on a plate with icing on top, to Salman Ovega.
Yeah, so the DTM, with the car stopping stationary for about 6 or 7 seconds, it takes about 31 seconds to go through the pits stationary. So with a drive-through penalty, without stopping, it's probably going to be about 23, 24 seconds. And that, I reckon, will put him about 7 seconds to the deficit of Seppänen and Ovega, who will pick up the lead of the race. So the drive-through penalty, all for the sake of waiting a couple of seconds in the pit stop, is going to cost them a huge, huge amount of time and potentially a victory.
I think it was 2.1 seconds that he went below the minimum pit stop time. So yes, that really hurts. And we did think, there is Maxi Goetz just chatting to Ralph Aron. We did say that if it's a long way, oh, there's Luca Stoltz as well. Hello, Luca. If you go a long way below the minimum pit stop time, and 2.1 seconds is a long way, then the penalty could be big. Well, it doesn't come a lot bigger than that. I mean, the only thing more than that is a stop and go. So Petru Umbrarescu hasn't served it yet. He's still circulating around. Maybe there is an element of arguing. I don't see how there can be, because it's a statement of fact if somebody has gone below a certain time. But at the moment, I expect the message has been given to Elias Seppänen. Look after the car, not Elias Seppänen, I beg your pardon, Salman Ovega. Look after the car, bring it home, make sure the tyres are up, because the lead is about to be gifted to you.
Yes, indeed, and 15.5 seconds, the gap coming down anyway. Remember how quick Ovega was in the first stint yesterday to build up a 15-second advantage. We know he's a very quick driver there in the number 48 Mercedes. He's got 6.7 seconds over Finn Gersitz in the Porsche now. Finn, having got past Benjamin Heites in the Lamborghini, hasn't really left him behind. There's only half a second between them. Alan Valenti's only half a second behind the pair of them in the number 5 Mercedes as well, run by Haupt, who've had a good weekend in DTM with a win and a second for Luca Stoltz. And here he comes then. So in he comes for the drive-through penalty. I reckon, as I say, about 23 or 24 seconds in total this would cost him.
Yeah, well, the body language says it all, doesn't it? He flicks his hand into the air. They do have the race logic system. That's the little blue box you just saw on the dashboard, which normally means they can time it just right to the line. There goes our race leader through, our new race leader. That is Salman Vega. Finn Gersitz has crossed through as well. Well, he's going to make it, isn't he? Benjamin Heites as well, which will be third place. Where is he going to slot in? I think he's going to struggle to get in front of Alan Valente here. Well, he muscles it a little bit, but Valente keeps the power on around the outside and then to the inside. So Alan Valente, so from the lead of the race, a drive-through penalty, relegating him down into 5th place. He's got a lot of work to do there. I think Janis Fischer is not going to be able to do anything about him. And Eduardo Cosseteng a little way back as well. But that was a disaster. But problems there for Alan Valente. The car is going slowly, so an issue there. Is that a puncture? I don't know what it is, but that Mercedes is not up to speed.
Seems to have got going again now, though, doesn't it? It was a temporary blip, but it looks okay again now. Back up to speed, I think. So, well, they just had an electric issue and just cut out or have to reset something, but I think he might be okay again now.
Well, that's one gift back to Petru Rescue, I guess, if you can call it that. Our leader now is Salman Vega. Look at the rear wing gyrating in the breeze, the vibrations in the number 25 car as he heads down the hill. Janis Fischer at the wheel, having taken over from Nico Menzel, trying to put the pressure on the Petru Rescue and relegate him back down into that 5th place. Our leader is Salman Vega, 8.3 seconds ahead of Finn Gersitz in the Porsche, and then Benjamin Heites in the Lamborghini, looking pretty racy there, just 7/10 behind. Around turn 1 they come. Then there's a gap back, about 2.4 seconds to Petru Rescue. Janis Fischer, Alan Valente, after that moment of going slower. And then Eduardo Cosseteng. Jonas Karklees at the back of the pack. He is not quite a lap, no, he's not a lap down, beg your pardon. He is a fair way back from this fight, though.
So second win of the weekend for Vega and Zeppelin. That will give them another 25 points. Their closest rivals, Gersitz and Muller, second in the race, will score 20. So the gap, as it stands, will grow to 19 points at the top of the championship table from 14, from being dead level. They were exactly level, weren't they, going into the first race yesterday?
Yes, and it was as a result of the points picked up in qualifying. Of course, 3, 2, 1 are awarded to pole, 2nd and 3rd in qualifying, and that brought them up to level with Finn Gersitz and Sven Muller coming into yesterday's race. But they did absolutely dominate yesterday, doing a great job today, considering the fact they have the success penalty on board of 20 kilos as well. So that's all the more impressive. Yes, there has been that drive-through for Petru Rescue, but still impressive to be up there. Now, Finn Gersitz has a very experienced pilot in comparison behind him, Benjamin Heites, the driver who lives in Barcelona but heads back home to Chile when there's no racing to be had in that position. And Janis Fischer with Alan Valente trying to come back. Oh no, Petru Rescue, beg your pardon. So Petru Rescue and Janis Fischer. So it was Janis Fischer who got past the Mercedes, stealing that position away and into 4th place.
Valente having a look as well in the black Mercedes, got side by side with him through turn 3, up through turns 4 and 5 they go. The two Mercedes nose to tail. But a good move from Fischer in the Porsche to get ahead, and he's already started to pull away by 2 or 3 car lengths. So Fischer up to 4th place in the blue and white Porsche, edging away. Mercedes lead, Porsche 2nd, Lamborghini 3rd, Porsche 4th, then the two Mercedes 5th and 6th. The BMW of Eduardo Cosseteng in 7th place, 1.6 seconds adrift, but slower on that previous lap, so the gap growing. The BMW, I think, really struggling with that extra weight on the car. And way out wide goes Rescue here, and Valente will have a chance around the outside into turn 12. Is he going to brave it? Yes, he does. Good move that to get through, and it was just too wide, wasn't he, coming out of turn 11, Rescue? Yeah, that was great driving, very brave driving from Benjamin Heites as well, as he works his way past and takes that position. Brilliant stuff. Going wide down towards the waterfall section of the track, you can pick up and
penalty if you're not careful for track limits. Our race stewards have been looking at track limits all race long, but he said he didn't gain anything from that. He lost an awful lot, including a position. Salman Vega leading the way, 9.8 seconds from Finn Gersit. So it looks like he's stretching his legs now at the front. We are into the final quarter of the race. That is Finn Gersit's in second in the yellow and blue Porsche, getting past as the pit window closed. They came out on the outlap and took advantage of the Lamborghini while the tyres were still getting back up to temperature, while the driver was getting up to temperature as well. And into a second place, having taken over from Sven Muller, Benjamin Heites in the third place. A podium position for the GRT Grasser Lamborghini, well ahead of Yanis Fitcher at the moment by 3.7 seconds.
I should correct myself. I reckon it'll be a 20-point lead, not a 19-point lead, because they got a point for qualifying third this morning, didn't they, Vega and Zeppelin? So that's a nice way to start the second half of the season. This is the fourth event of 6, with a pretty crammed second half of the season. It was fairly spread out the first 3 rounds of the championship, but you've got this weekend, you've got 2 weekends' time, the penultimate weekend at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, wonderful circuit that, and then we go to Hockenheim a few weeks after that for what will be already the end of the season. The year has flown by. Vega then 10.4 seconds clear of Gersitz. Gersitz and IT separated by just about 0.8 of a second. It's crept out that gap a bit, but not by that much. A replay of Mbarescu running out wide, coming out of turn 7, so he's lost a place to Eduardo Cosseteng in the BMW. And after all that good work from Maxi Götz, really, it was the pit stop that did for them. And since then, he's been on the back foot and he's dropped down the order to 7th place now in the Mercedes.
Yeah, that's such a shame, because it was such a solid job from Maxi Götz, but for that mistake in the pit, look at the gap between Salman Vega and Sven Gersit. It's time to go and get a cup of tea, read the paper and come back again. Here we come. There's second and third running together. So Finn Gersit seems to have a grip on this at the moment. Benjamin Heites with his helmet in the livery of James Hunt, his idol and his hero. And so he's based his crash helmet on the same that James Hunt had. Down the waterfall they come. Down towards turn 12 in the background there is Yanis Fitcher and then Alan Valente. This is, as we've already said, round 4, 6 rounds this year in the ADAC GT Masters. A slightly unusual year. The very, very late announcement of the calendar meant that a number of teams had committed their budgets elsewhere, but we're mega confident of some big grids coming soon. We've got guest entries hopefully over the next few rounds, or next couple of rounds next year. Big plans as well. Now Finn Gersit into the pits. There's not a drive-through penalty, but what is going on there? Finn Gersit clearly has a problem. Is it a puncture?
Yeah, right rear puncture, I think.
We said that there would be issues with tyres this weekend. What an absolute shame, having run in second place after such a good move. And again, the tyre issue bites here at the Sachsenring. The right rear, well, that says it all, doesn't it? It's the right-hand side that takes all the pressure. They're now having to work, and you can see the frustration. A podium position, almost guaranteed, but for a puncture in the closing stages of this race. They dropped the Porsche off the ramp and he'll fire the car up, but he's going to be running round at the back of the pack now. The chance of a podium well and truly gone. Such a shame.
Not been their weekend, has it? Because remember, it was running in second place until the last 2 laps yesterday after the safety car bunched them out, and then Sven Muller dropped down to 5th place, and in the last, 11 minutes or so of the race today, the puncture has pushed them off the podium this time around. So replay on board with Finn Gersit.
That's it there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Up into the final turn. A lot of pressure on the tyre going up that hill. He does well just to keep it out of the gravel, I think, doesn't he?
The only saving grace is that it went there. If he'd gone past the pit wall, he'd have had to do another lap with a puncture. But, it was almost, if he's got to go anywhere, go there, because he was straight into the pits, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And with a puncture, not only is it a slow lap, but it's also the flailing rubber can wreck the back end of the car. There is your race leader. Well, that interval has now been boosted as a result of second place disappearing off the scene. Benjamin Heites in second place, 15 points back. Yanis Fitcher, well, that's a pretty good run by him him and Nico Menzel in the number 25 car, just 1.7 seconds behind Benjamin Heiters, and Alan Valente in there as well, just 4 tenths back. So still potentially a fight for the last step on the podium, but look at that lead once again. Salman Vega and Elias Seppänen. Are they going to become the first back-to-back winners since Ben Green did that last, along with Niklas Cruton last year at the Red Bull Ring? A very rare occurrence in GT Masters to have back-to-back wins on the same weekend, but they're certainly in the box seats for that as we look at Alan Valente behind Janis Fichter, looking for the last of the podium positions. He has a little look to the inside of the Porsche, up the hill towards turn 13, onto the pit straight. Now, has he got the legs to do anything about it? Picking up the slipstream past the pits and in towards turn 1. He looks out to the left, to the right, ducks back in behind. Under braking into turn 1, he sees a gap, has a think about it, backs out of it as well. Maybe trying to sell the dummy to Janis Fichter, but that didn't work. Around turn 2, and then this steep downhill section into the Castrol Omega turn. So didn't make it happen this time around, but we've still got a little over 9 minutes plus 1 lap remaining to make a move and get onto that podium position.
Yeah, whatever that little blip was with the Mercedes Valente a few laps ago, it's definitely all fine now as he's right onto the tail of Fichter in the Porsche in the battle for the final spot on the podium. Meanwhile, having rejoined back in 8th place, Finn Gersitz. That means the team second in the championship will only score 8 points, 17 fewer than Seppänen and Vega, which means that the championship lead will more than double from 15 to 32 points. Wow. A cruel blow that for the pairing. But what about this? We've got a real battle on our hands here. 8 3/4 minutes to keep Alan Valente behind you. That sounds like a very long time to me.
Yeah, he's not going to wait for 8 minutes, is it? He's going now. To the inside he goes. He sees a gap on the inside, but Fichter has quite a fast line around the outside of the corner. They run up the hill together, but now Valente squeezes through the right rear view mirror, hanging loose on the car, and into the pits comes Janis Fichter. Is this another puncture? It could easily be. The Porsche peeling off into the pit lane. It's not a penalty or anything, so I wonder whether the tyre dramas might have struck again. We look to the right. Well, those are all up, aren't they? So what is the problem?
Right, so it is the right. I think it's a slow puncture, which explains why he's suddenly started to be reeled in. So, yeah, he's obviously sensed that, or the sensor's gone off. It's not completely delaminated, but I think that's the problem. And again, it's the right rear. It's always the right side that struggle here because there's so many left-handers, anti-clockwise circuit. Almost all of the corners and all of the high-speed corners are left-handers. So all of that pressure is generated onto the right-hand side of the car.
We saw it last year. We saw cars dropping like flies at the end of race 2 in the ADAC GT Masters, and it was all to do with tyres and making them last. We didn't see so many problems in the DTM earlier on this afternoon because they're allowed tyre changes, but these tyres have to go the full hour. And I reckon that their teams are on the radios to the various drivers, to Salman Vega, to Benjamin Heiters, to Alan Valente, saying, take it easy, don't use too much curb, don't put too much pressure on those tyres, because you can throw it all away in an instant. On board with Salman Vega, leading the way. He's got an open track in front of him, and he has got a big gap. It was above 15 seconds last time around. It's 18 seconds now, so increasing that gap. He doesn't need to put the pressure on those tyres. If he gets a puncture, that will be the race win out of the window. He's got to make it last for another 6 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap, so he needs to just back off. That's easier said than done. Racing drivers just want to go flat out all the way, but you've got to get the equipment home to get the points.
Yeah, you've got to keep your rhythm as well. You can't back off too much because suddenly you start to lapse in concentration. You're not attacking the corners where you normally would. You take odd lines, and weirdly, even though going slower, you can start to make silly mistakes. But you're absolutely right. I mean, he could back off quite a bit now, a second a lap underneath what he needs to do, take the pressure off the tyres, and he'll still have a massive advantage. He's actually almost coming up to lap the Finn Gersitz Porsche because it took a long time to get that right rear change because it had completely delaminated. It didn't take as long to get the tyre changed on that slow puncture that we saw just come in for Fichter. So Gersitz has remained in stone last place at the moment, and the best part of a lap down, he's just going into turn 1 over the line and past the commentary box now. The race leader with less than 6 minutes to go.
It is Salmon Vega who leads the way, having taken over from Elias Seppänen. It was Maxi Gertz who led for much of the race in the first half. He handed over to Petru Umbra-Rescue in the number 3 Mercedes, but a pit stop violation, going below the minimum pit stop time by 2.1 seconds, which is a big margin, meant a drive-through penalty. It dropped Umbra-Rescue right down to the back of the pack, but he's worked his way back up into 5th place. The lead has been handed to Salmon Vega, yesterday's winner, along with Elias Seppänen. Benjamin Heites, a solid drop, along with Marco Mapelli into 2nd place, and Alan Valente and Ralph Aron in 3rd place. That's your 1, 2, 3. Eduardo Cosseteng, who took over from Ben Green, and the Schubert Motorsport BMW, staying out of trouble in that 4th place. And there is Sven Muller looking on. He'll be as frustrated as Finn Gessitz is, I should think, now running in 8th and last place.
Benjamin Heites last time round in that Lamborghini, 123.1, 122.3, 8 tenths quicker for Alan Valente in the Mercedes. So he's making a real go of trying to get that 2nd place away from the Lamborghini here. Through the first sector, a 42.9 for Heites, a 42.5 for Valente. So he's 4 tenths quicker through the first sector as well. The 2nd sector is shorter, but again, he takes a 10th out of him. So he's half a second quicker on this lap as well. That gap is coming down pretty rapidly from 2nd to 3rd.
So clearly he's not too worried about tyre wear. Interestingly, the 2 that did have a puncture were both Porsches, and it may be the Porsches are a little bit harder on the right tyres than some of the other brands are. But pushing on still in the last 4 minutes of the race here in the ADAC GT Masters, race 2 of the weekend. Looking back from Eduardo Cosseteng at Petru Umbra-Rescue into turn 1 once again. You can see that grippy, grainy track that takes so much out of the cars. You can see those high red and yellow curbs, which are also quite sharp. Anything that can catch these drivers out and cause problems with the tyres. Eduardo Cosseteng, solid in 4th place. Petru Umbra-Rescue wants to make up for what has been a difficult second half of the race.
Valente took another 7 tenths out of Heites on that last lap, so the gap down to 1.8 seconds last time through, and that is going to be pretty tight by the end of the race, I reckon. Catching is one thing, finding a way past might be another here at the Sachsenring, but he's going to make Heites work for that 2nd place all the way to the flag, as Cosseteng has been made to work for 4th place here by Umbra-Rescue, who's definitely got into the rhythm now, hasn't he?
He has. He's a driver who seems to have improved as the season has gone on. Of course, their high point was a 2nd place in race 1 at the Nürburgring, and no, it wasn't. I beg your pardon. It was 2nd place at Hockenheim in this season opener. That was with Arjun Maini as his co-pilot. But certainly getting into the rhythm as this season progresses, trying to put the pressure on the less experienced Eduardo Cosseteng. Out at the front. Back off? I don't think so. Nearly 20 seconds now for Salmon Vega, with 2 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this race. There's your 2nd place battle, Benjamin Heites and Alan Valente. That's your 1, 2, 3, your podium positions. And then further back, it is Eduardo Cosseteng and Petru Umbra-Rescue in that fight for 4th place. Jonas Karklees, good solid job there into 6th place, just keeping it going, not dropping a long way behind. Certainly the team who don't really see themselves as championship challengers at the moment, learning the ropes in the Nord Pass by Jutta Audi, but said, we just want to get better and better with every round and be contenders in the future. And that's exactly what they're doing. The gap now is coming down as they start to fight the cars around them. Less than 2 minutes to go.
Come down from 2.7 to 1.2 seconds over the last 3 laps. So it's more than half the gap. And there he started to apply the pressure, because Heites will look in the mirror, see that black Mercedes getting bigger and bigger. He's got an issue with his right wing mirror has got a knock, hasn't it? It's pointing downwards, but he's not really looking behind at the moment, so it's fine. He's looking ahead, and he's catching that Lamborghini. It's just over a second now, the gap. 1.5 minutes plus 1 lap to go. The clock will run out, don't think on this lap, will it? So it's going to be 3 more laps to find a way past, I reckon.
I think that wing mirror, you can thank Ralph Aron for that, for getting down and dirty with it earlier on in the race. But he doesn't want to look behind him anyway. He's looking ahead. He's looking ahead at car 63 in 2nd place. That's the one he wants to pass. Can he do anything about it? 0.960 last time across the timing beam. But what can he do? Benjamin Heites nearly 20 seconds back from Salmon Vega, who has now potentially stopped pushing quite as hard. Needs to just bring that car home for the 2nd win of the weekend. This is the Alan Valente and Benjamin Haiti's battle, the fight for second place. I think Eduardo Cosadeng 8.1 seconds back, just a little bit too far back to get involved in a podium fight at the moment. But with 30 seconds plus 1 lap remaining, well, it's going to be effectively 2 laps, isn't it? There is still the potential for breakdowns and punctures, and we have seen more shocking things over the last few years. So across the line for his penultimate lap goes Salmon Vega.
Yeah, all on his own. Looks in the mirrors, sees nothing. A bit like yesterday when he had a brilliant first stint. So on his own now, just controlling things with around about 6 kilometres of track left to run in this last remaining lap and 3/4. Over the line in second and third into turn 1 they go. The gap down to less than 7/10 of a second now. 2 laps for Haitis to hang on to second place. 2 laps for Valente to find a way past in the Mercedes. But there aren't many opportunities around the lap to get through. He's got to start to really get as close as he can now. Maybe the best opportunity is going to be at the end of the lap through turns 12, maybe into turn 13.
It would be such a shame to do something stupid and put it in the gravel trap now, so it needs to be a measured approach. Nothing desperate, nothing drastic. Third place is better than a DNF, but he would dearly love that second place as well. Alan Valente in the number 3 car. He had a second place in Nürburgring, as we've already mentioned. That's his only trip to the podium so far this year, along with Ralph Aron. And there's a car that's gone wide. It's Petru Umberescu from 5th place. That's exactly what he didn't want to do, going wide into the gravel in the closing stages of the race. And lets Jonas Karklees up into 5th place. So Karklees potentially going to pick up his best result ever in ADAC GT Masters. Let's have another look here from above. Just missing his braking point, running out of grip, going wide. That is at the top of the hill, isn't it? That is up at turn 5 and 6. He keeps it going, so fortunately he's not stranded, but he's back out on the track and he's lost a position as a result. The stones come flying up. Keep the power on, get it out the gravel track, don't let it come to a stop. In the meantime, we are into the final lap of the race as we watch Petru Umberescu rejoin. The final lap board is out, and at the moment around turn 7 goes Salmon Vega. The rest of the cars coming around. We are getting to the end of this race, the second of the weekend in the ADAC GT Masters.
That is nose to tail in the battle for second place. 0.4 of a second behind at the start of the lap. About 4 metres behind now is nothing, is it? So the Lamborghini just ahead in this battle for second place, but Haitis has got Valente all over him, breathing down his neck. He's probably going to get 2 chances, one into turn 12 at the bottom of the hill, and maybe on the way into the final corner, but the odds probably favouring Haitis with so little time remaining.
And out of the final corner becomes Salmon Vega and Elias Sepinen taking the win in the ADAC GT Masters. That very, very rare feat, back-to-back wins on the same weekend. A phenomenal job. Benjamin Haitis holding off Alan Valente up the hill, out of the final corners. It's gonna be Benjamin Haiti who takes that second place along with Marco Mapelli. Great job though. Alan Valente and Ralph Aron coming home for a podium position. The spectators under the umbrellas enjoying it as Ben Green and Eduardo Cosadeng steal that 4th place. And then great job for Jonas Karklees and Jonas Gelginis in 5th place. Petru Umberescu, Maxi Gertz, what has been a fairly traumatic race all in all, come home 7.9 seconds back from Karklees in 6th place. Then it's Janis Fischer, Nico Menzel ahead of Finn Gersitz and Sven Muller. But there on board with Salmon Vega from the Ovega family, he and his brothers, all race winners. And now Salmon Vega, double race winner this weekend in that car, the number 48 Mercedes that is prepared by Landgraf Motorsports.
Yeah, terrific drive by Zeppelin in the first stint, but Vega again showing his class to extend that advantage, and he was under no pressure really, was he, for that second half of the race. There are the results, Brian.
So the only drivers to have won more than one race this season, and they've made it 4. Salmon Vega, Elias Sepinen, stamping their authority on the championship ahead of Benjamin Haitis and Marco Mapelli, Alan Valente, Ralph Aron, Eduardo Cosadeng and Ben Green. Good job through into 4th place, but a very good job for Jonas Karklees and Jonas Gelginis Alginis. Petru Umberescu, Maxi Gertz, a traumatic race in 6th place ahead of Janis Fischer, Nico Menzel, Finn Gersit, Sven Muller, all suffering with punctures as a result of probably the hard-wearing track that we are at here at the Sachsenring. The sun is shining and we have enjoyed the ADAC GT Masters Race 8 of a 12-race season, and with just 2 events left to go, 4 races, a massive 31-point lead now for Elias Seppänen and Salman Vega over Finn Gersit and Sven Muller. Benjamin Heites and Marco Mappelli just 3 points adrift of them, and then it's Janis Fischer and Nico Menzel in 4th place. Ben Green and Eduardo Cosseteng move up into 5th, 48 points off the lead of the championship, and Ralph Aron, Alan Valente, Tim Zimmerman and Jackson Evans are not going to be in the season for the rest of this year. Very sorry to hear that Christoph Huber has not been well and has had to withdraw his cars from the ADAC GT Masters. We hope to see him back next year. We look at the slow-mos now. It is the Ralph Aron number 2 Alan Valente car for HRT. In 2nd place, Benjamin Heites and Marco Mappelli for GRT. Grasser Racing, but stealing the headlines. That very rare occurrence. Back-to-back wins on the same weekend. Salman Vega and Elias Seppänen. Who can stop them in the Landgraf Motorsport Mercedes AMG? So some lovely slow-mos of Elias Seppänen. Well, it says Seppänen in the window. I think that's Salman Vega who's at the wheel at that point. Crossing the finish line. The name not switching over in the window, but we know who Salman Vega is, and a popular driver. His brother, as we already mentioned, was running in the DTM this afternoon, Yusuf Vega. And his older brother, Hamza, was in the Prototype Cup Germany last weekend in Assen. They are a racing family through and through. And I think it's not going to be long before we see Salman Vega maybe bothering the ranks even in DTM along with his brother. So great race. Just goes to show you don't need 35 cars for a good race. That was really entertaining stuff from the ADAC GT Masters.
Yeah, and brutal on the drivers with that heat, but as you see, brutal on the cars, and in particular the tyres there, with a couple of dramatic moments and punctures really affecting things, particularly for Finn Gersit and Sven Muller. As good a weekend as Vega and Seppänen have had, it's been the opposite, really. It's been a really frustrating one of opportunities missed for the Porsche drivers. Gersit and Muller lost the championship lead. There were 3 points clear coming into the weekend. They're now more than 30 points adrift. So the teams, the drivers, were making their way to the podium presentation with the top 3 in the winning team after a busy weekend here at the Sachsenring with all 3 practice sessions, qualifying sessions and 2 long races. They'll feel this tomorrow morning, but they'll recoup pretty quickly because it's less than 2 weeks now and they'll be back in action on track on the Friday at the Red Bull Ring.
And I should think Ben Green will be rubbing his hands together because the BMW has been historically very strong at the Red Bull Ring, and it was there that he, along with Nicolas Cruton, took back-to-back wins last year. They were the last people to do back-to-back wins, and then you have to go back a few years before you see the people who have done that prior to them. But they will be hoping for a good result when we go to the Red Bull Ring. That is on the 22nd to the 24th of September. That will be races 9 and 10 of the season. Then it will all come to a close at Hockenheim. Well, the championship might be decided then, might be decided before then, the way things are going at the moment. 20th to the 22nd of October at Hockenheim will be round 6, races 11 and 12 of the season. A massive field of GT4 cars there waiting to go out on track as they bring to a close what has been a thoroughly entertaining weekend here at the Sachsenring, which has featured DTM, BMW M2 Cup, Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, and of course the ADAC GT Masters. Just going to wait for the drivers. Hopefully we can bring you the podium ceremony. We're running a little bit late today as a result of what was a fairly monumentally large accident in the opening lap of the DTM race earlier on this afternoon. Required a lot of cleaning up, and so there is a certain rush to keep the schedule going. We do have a noise curfew here as well with wonderful circuit, which right in the middle of a town, isn't it? It surprises you when you're driving through the town and suddenly there's a race circuit there.
Yeah, it started out as a road course back in the 1920s before developing into a full race course, and traditionally used as a bike racing venue initially. Used to host the East German Grand Prix, the Motorcycle World Championship. Now still very much on the cards and on the calendar for the MotoGP World Championship, but things have built up around it. The town has built up around it, and a business park all around as well. So, on the roads surrounding the racetrack, you have to sort of walk on the roads to the business park to get from one part of the track to the next. You've got these businesses just a few metres away from the racetrack. So it's a pretty unusual setting for a race course. They're normally out in the middle of fields, in the middle of the countryside, in the middle of kind of nowhere, but this one is the opposite. So you've got Fred Grasser in the background there of GRT. They haven't had a great weekend in the DTM, but they have had a good weekend in the GT Masters. Landgraf as well, the nightmare weekend with Maro Engel in the DTM. 2 retirements for a driver that was in the championship fight up until this weekend. But they've had a terrific weekend here in GT Masters. Couldn't have gone any better, really, could it?
No, it couldn't have. And GRT Grasser will be looking forward to Red Bull Ring as well, because that circuit is pretty well literally in their back garden. And so they'll be sleeping in their own beds on that particular weekend. So they'll be looking forward to that as well, and looking forward to entertaining the Austrian crowds, as well as the many people who will no doubt be travelling from Germany and across the world to what will be an exciting event in the Styrian Mountains. There is the Landgraf team looking chilled in the sunshine. Another entrant to Beardfest 2023 there as well. Just waiting for the podium presentation to come along. It has been a glorious day. Oh, is that in recognition of Colin Chapman, do you reckon? Throw the hat in the air as they cross the line. And celebrations, there is no doubt about that. Hello there. Yep, you're on TV. Welcome along. That's one of the Schubert Motorsport people. And they have been entertained as well this afternoon. As we wait for the drive to go on the podiums, there is Ben Green. And, that's Patrick Steinmetz. He's going to be racing in the GT4 in a few minutes. I get the feeling he's probably doing the second stint in that car, judging by the fact he's looking quite chilled, chatting to Ben Green.
Absolutely right, yeah. And what will the weather be like at the Red Bull Ring as well? It's right in the middle of the mountains, as you say. It can be hot like this, but it can also be quite volatile. So we're enjoying the sunshine over the last couple of weekends of GT Masters, but it might be the last time we get that, possibly. Could go either way at the Red Bull Ring. And when we get to Hockenheim in October, well, if it's like this, something is wrong, because it's normally a bit dark and a bit cold and perhaps a bit rainy there as well. So that could throw in a few spanners into the works as well, couldn't it? The weather over the last couple of rounds as we go into the autumn months.
Probably be foggy, I should think. There was a time I was at the Red Bull Ring not that long ago when the event got snowed off after the Saturday, because suddenly it started snowing. But who knows what's going to happen there. I'm told it's very hot there at the moment. Let's hope it lasts for when we get there on the that will be in September. I'm trying to remember what the dates are now. My mind has gone blank, but certainly later on in September, in about 3 weeks' time. Make it that. There you go.
Yeah, if it could be a bit less hot in a fortnight's time, that would be great. I mean, given it's early evening now, the temperature's just not dropped. It's 29 degrees almost, 28.9 degrees.
Yeah, got to put my shirt back on when I leave the commentary box, I should think. So here we go in the sunshine. We're still waiting. Come on, up to the podium. I think Toby Shimon is, doing the interviews at the moment, which is why we have just a slight delay. But I'm sure we will see our winning drivers in a few moments. Looking out the window, I can see the GT4 cars all ready to go as well. So we'll need to get a bit of a shift on. But here we go. Well, there's Ralph Aron and Alan Valente as they make their way up towards the podium. Those are the heroes of the weekend. Try not to walk with too much swagger there, Elias, because you have every reason. He's always very cool and calm, is Elias Seppänen. Quite understated, can't be said for Salmon there, fists in the air. Yeah, Elias always just takes it in his stride, always very laid back, just yeah, we can win it, we can do it. That's exactly what he's like. But we're going to see some emotion, I think, as they come onto the podium in just a few seconds. Here we go, third place, Ralph Aron and Alan Valente for HRT onto that third step. Good job done. Their second podium of the season. Onto the second step of the podium. It's Benjamin Heites and Marco Mappelli. But the heroes of the weekend. That really rare thing, a double back-to-back win on the same weekend, Salman Vega and Elias Sepinen to the top step of the podium, and a representative from Landgraf. We're getting ready for the national anthem. So, national anthem hats are put back on. Are we looking at the new champions in the ADAC GT Masters? They're certainly making massive strides towards that, as Christian Gerrick from Bidkasten presents the winners' trophies. Of course, it was Elias Sepinen's teammate from last year, his fellow driver, Raffaele Marchiel, who is the outgoing champion in the GT Masters. And Marchiello still making big strides and waves throughout the world with his racing, but not defending his title this year. Trophies also to Landgraf. The yellow Mamba, of course, their trademark car, but it's the gold and white livery that Elias Sepinen and Salman Vega have for this season, and they're putting that car to good effect. Their lead in the points championship. Torpedo. Well, Elias Sepinen might be a quiet and thoughtful person, but he knows how to get a bottle of champagne to explode. There will be celebrations in the Landgraf, double celebrations in the Landgraf pit tonight. It has been an entirely successful weekend for Elias Sepinen and Salman Vega. Now their eyes will turn to the Red Bull Ring to see, can they do something that I can't remember anybody doing before, and that is 3 in a row. We're going to find out in about 3 weeks' time. We'll see you at the Red Bull Ring for the next round of the ADAC GT Masters.